Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm finding out how many bishops I need to beat Martin. So far I've defeated Martin with 1 queen, 2 rooks, and the logical progression is now bishops. I'll start with 2 bishops since it's exceedingly unlikely that I'll win with only 1, and I'll add 1 bishop each game. With any luck, I'll only need 2. Let's get started. My general strategy for this has been to anticipate blunders, so I'm going to start by putting my bishops on the long diagonals to make it nice and easy for Martin to blunder. So I'll start with bishop to b2, and we'll see what Martin responds with. There we go. g5, immediately a blunder. And I could pick up this rook, and it's also mildly tempting to play something like bishop to e2, because if we get f6, it's all over. But then again, if we play bishop to e2 and the knight to f6, we don't even win the rook. There's no checkmate. We missed our opportunity. So I'm going to take the rook on h8. Martin has started right away with a blunder, and we're met with pawn to c5. I am going to get this bishop out of here before it gets in trouble, because even an accidental good move like knight to f6 traps the bishop, and I'd have to trade it off, which I can't afford when I only have 2 bishops. So I'll play my bishop back to, let's think, what would be the easiest place for him to blunder? Probably something like queen to a5, which is also annoying because it gives check. So I'll play bishop back to c3. Okay, we're met with knight to a6, and I'll do the same thing with the other bishop. I'll put it on the long diagonal. Okay, h6, which is neither here nor there. I'm not sure that there are many more blunders for him to make, so I'll play bishop to f3 so that both of these pawn moves are blunders. But besides that, I'll just kind of keep the position neutral. So bishop to f3, we're met with c4. Again, it's unclear where the blunders are going to come from. The biggest ones would be like b5, giving away another rook, or any of these pawn pushes. I think this bishop is doing just fine here, holding off a5, and knight to b4 is also a blunder for that same bishop. So I'm going to just move my king towards the center, king to e2. Kind of a waiting move. We get knight to c7, which is unironically a good maneuvering move, bringing the knight more towards the center. It has life on b5, life on e6, although I'd say I'm at least naive to think that those are all Martin's plans. I'm going to march forward with the king, which is a little bit risky, but I would argue that my bishops are optimally placed where they are right now. So I'm going to march forward with the king to e3. Nice, and we've baited this check on d5, which is just a free knight. Okay, e6 does a good job of kicking the bishop, and I'll put it back where it was. I think it was doing a good job holding off these pawns on f3. So I'll play bishop back to f3 and a5, and this is like the biggest issue with these challenges, is that if Martin just accidentally, just by RNG, decides to push the same pawn multiple times, it's over for me. I have to sacrifice a bishop, and it's, again, very unlikely that I'll be able to get checkmate with only 1 bishop. So I'm going to hang out with my king in the center a little bit more. I'm going to play king back to d2. We're met with d5, which actually is definitely one of the best ways to play against bishops, is to kind of close the center with these pawn chains, because it's impossible for my bishop to get past it through any of these diagonals anymore. So I could reroute my bishop to d1 and try to give it some life on a4. So I'll do that. Bishop to d1, and from there it will still hold off these pawns. So I'll play bishop to d1. We get a4, which is actually a huge problem for me, because like I said, if even by random chance we get a3, a2, a1, I'm pretty much done. So I want these bishops to be my active pieces. I'll move my king, and its job will be to stop these pawns. Kind of a big ask for 1 king to stop a horde of pawns that are brigading against me, but it's not like I have much of a choice. I'll play here now bishop c2, and I think I need to start actively chasing free pieces. I'm looking for bishop to h7 and see if I can pick up this knight. So I'll play bishop to c2. Cool, we get bishop d6, bishop h7. b4 threatens the bishop. I'm going to play bishop to g7, which, yes, is very, very risky, but if I move my bishop back in something like c3, my bishop is trapped and has no future there anymore. So we march forth, bishop to g7. We're in check. I'll move my king more towards the pawns. f6 doesn't address the knight, so I'll pick it up, which now weakens this h6 pawn. My bishop is pretty close to being effectively trapped, but it's not like I have much of a choice. So I'll pick up this pawn on h6. Okay, bishop c7. I'll start bringing this bishop out because they're getting kind of trapped behind this chain of pawns. And actually, after e5, I'm tempted to move it back. So I can pick up this pawn on c4. I'll play that. Bishop to g8. Nice d3 hangs the pawn. Scary because it's almost promoting, but what am I going to do about it, right? D3, G4, the pawns march forth. And maybe I can get him in like checkmate somehow with just my bishops, because the king doesn't really have anybody in front of him anymore. Let's play bishop to E3. Okay, now bishop to C5. I'm targeting a free pawn, ouch. And I was going to say I'm covering these squares as well, but bishop D6 puts an end to that plan right away. Okay, bishop goes back. Luckily, this bishop cuts off the defense of the queen on this D3 pawn, so I'll pick up that pawn. A3, he's getting extremely uncomfortably close. Let's target this rook now, bishop to E4. Oh, nice, bishop back to B8. That's completely my bishop, or my rook, I think. Let's see, check, king here, check, drops the bishop. But do I really believe that Martin is going to see that? No, not really, I don't. I'm going to take the rook. We get check with F5 instead. Okay, I think I can play king to C1 now. Queen to C8 is check. King moves over, check. It's a little bit scary. Okay, what about king to A1? Queen check. King here, queen check. Still drops the bishop, but at least we stave it off for a couple of moves. Okay, we get check. King moves up is the only option. And checkmate. Okay, we didn't get it with 2 bishops. Let's move on to 3. All right, I'm back with 3 bishops, and I think it's important to note that I have 2 bishops that are light squared and 1 bishop that's dark squared. So this bishop is pretty important because it will make checkmate a lot easier. So if I lose a bishop, it has to be one of these light squared bishops. I'll start by placing this bishop on the long diagonal, just like last time. We'll see what Martin responds with. F6, pretty good. If we get G5, bishop H5 is mate. I wonder if I can tempt it with bishop F4, G5, bishop H5. That would be a spectacular ending to the video, although it would make this video very, very short. But hey, at least I'd get checkmate. Let's try that. Bishop F4. Okay, that was like the exact opposite of the response I was looking for. We get Martin centralizing his pawn, and now there's an escape square for the king, so this wouldn't work anyways. I'll go ahead and drop the bishop back to E3. I'd like it to be at least somewhat centralized. We get bishop B4 check, and I'll move my king over to F1. I'll probably try to keep my king out of the way completely for this game. Okay, I'll bring my bishop out, targeting the knight. We get knight to A6, and maybe I can double my bishops as well to put a little extra pressure on those knights. So I'll play bishop D5. Rook to B8 doesn't address it, so I'll take the knight. H5 definitely doesn't address it. Okay, I'll play check. King to E7. I like to see that he's exposing his king. That's usually a good sign coming from Martin. I'm not sure how else I can optimize my pieces. Maybe bishop C4, but that doesn't even really target anything. Okay, I'll get my bishop out of here for now. I'll bring the other bishop to G6. Okay, I'm trying to maneuver my pieces to make them a little more effective and less in danger. Right now, this bishop can do whatever it wants because it's not trying to support the bishop that was on F7. This bishop is suffering a little bit because a lot of his pawns are on dark squares. Maybe I can pick up this A7 pawn, B6, trade it off. But like I said, I'm trying to take care of this bishop. But if I'm going to win this, I'm going to have to take some risk. So I'll go ahead and take on A7. Okay, H4. I could try to take the exchange. It's exceedingly likely that he will recapture, and I can't afford to lose this bishop. So I'll take my pawn and go, basically. Okay, pawn to B5. He starts pushing his pawns. What kind of pieces can I target? It's really difficult because I can't target other bishops without offering a trade. I can only target knights and rooks. Again, same thing for the queen. I can't threaten it without offering a trade, which is kind of a weird way to think about it. But every piece that he loses here makes it more likely that he will win because I don't have a lot to work with in the first place. So I wonder if I should just make a waiting move here. I'll play like bishop to D5, centralize my bishop. Okay, bishop H3 is check. I'll play king to G1, as close as I can get to the pawn that is most advanced. Get queen to D7. And I feel like my strategy is faltering. He's so well protected with this pawn triangle, and his king just comfortably sitting behind it on a dark square, which I can never target with my dark squared bishop. Okay, I'll double my bishops again. I'll see if I can make a battery. Okay, he targets one of my bishops, so I will retreat to F3. Knight to A6 is doing nothing, so I'll target the queen. And we do get check, which gives away the queen, so I'll pick it up. And he does recapture. Obviously, it's the best move. And it's very similar now to how I was playing with rooks, but I'm going to need a lot of free pieces to hang on to this. At least the queen is off the board, so I'm not in danger of checkmate anymore, which is really, really good. It's a good sign for me. But I'm going to have to play this very carefully. So I'll play bishop to e4. I'll centralize my bishop again. Nice. Free bishop. Pawn to d5. I'll bring my bishop back to at least target this pawn. Bishop to c5. Oh, is actually really unfortunate because it pins my bishop to the king. I wonder if I take. He'll probably recapture, so my best bet is probably to move my king out of the way. Nice, okay. Rook to d8 does nothing about it. In fact, it drops the h4 pawn, so I'll pick it up. Rook to b6. I'll bring my bishop back. d4 is kind of scary, but at least my bishop is holding off all of these pawns from advancing, and my bishops are looking at where most of his pieces are right now. The question is, how can I anticipate a blunder here is the question, and I don't really think I can, to be honest. I mean, even if it's accidentally, these pieces do a really good job of defending one another. So I'll just make a waiting move with my king. g5 is kind of uncomfortable. I bring my king forth to stop these pawns. Nice, I'll take it. Rook to h8. I'm assuming the idea is to penetrate my position with his rook. So I'll bring my king back. I'd like my pieces to be at least relatively close to one another. Okay, I'll play bishop e4, target that rook. Nice, we get check, and I can drop back the king now and target the rook. Problem is, it walks into rook to e3. So I might be better off playing king to f2. But then d3 check, pushes the pawn. Okay, I'll play aggressive, king to g2. Nice, rook to c3 is the kind of Martin move I was anticipating, so I'll take the rook. f5 drops the knight. e4 drops the pawn. We're looking pretty good. Rook c2 is check. I'll move my king forth. Bishop d6 is also check. King to h4, check. I don't have any other legal moves here, so I'll play it. Okay, king to g5. We get checked again. I feel like I should just be walking deeper into his position, but I'm going to go ahead and pick up this pawn on f5. Oh, rook to e2 is a free rook. Oh, we might actually win this. Okay, this is going to really make me see if I can remember how to mate with two bishops, and I'm going to be totally honest, I don't know if I do. I'm going to pick up this pawn in the meantime. Okay, I'll attack both of his pieces. At some point, he'll fumble here, so check. Let me take this pawn. That is all mine. Okay, target the bishop. Nice. The pawn can't move forward, so I just need to hit the pawn. Okay, we'll pick up the pawn. And Lord have mercy, I don't know if I remember how to do this. Okay, we'll start by doubling the bishops. The idea is to create this kind of wall. And then bishop to e4 seals the wall because it's impenetrable. There's no way for him to target my bishops. Okay, I think my king needs to be in front of my bishops, if I remember correctly. Somebody out there in the comments is ripping his hair out, and I apologize. I will consider paying for your hair transplant because they're so frustrated that I don't know how to do this. I'll bring my bishops closer. I'll seal the wall off again. And I think this is exactly what we're looking for. You can see that there's no way to approach the bishops, and we've taken a lot of space away from his king. So concretely, he can only move to these squares. Now, this is where it gets tricky, is how do I finish this off? I think I need to bring my king in front of his king. I think that's what I need to do. Okay, king to c8. This is where you need to be really careful, because like king to e7, for example, boom, stalemate, it's over. Okay, I think the problem is right now his king has too many squares that he can move to. So I'm going to move my king out of the way and try to put more pressure on the king and restrict him to only 2 squares. So let's see, how would I actually do this? Bishop here, king here, and then bishop d6 is forced. Bishop, I have Russian accent now. Okay, bishop e6. Sorry to you Russians, I had to hear that. Bishop e6. I'll protect my bishop, and then I will cut off all of his squares except for these 2. Okay, and I think now is when I need to put my king in front of his king. So I'll play, I think it's bishop back and then king d6 is the idea. So I'll play bishop back, then king d6. Okay, and I think the idea is just that, and then keep walking him over. So now I can reroute my bishop to f6, and then we've set up basically the same thing. So bishop d4, bishop f6, and then I think we just repeat the idea. Okay, we're approaching that critical stage where I'm actually setting up for checkmate in a moment. Okay, and I'm going to have to calculate this outright because I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what the idea is here after. So I'm just going to calculate what I think is the right way to do this. Check, king here, and then I think it's like bishop back. because what I need is my king to actually create a fence too. My king can't just stay out here diagonal from the corner, obviously, because that's where the bishop needs to be to give check. So check, king there, bishop back. King here's forced, bishop f8 is covered. King to g6. King here, check, back, and then mate. Okay, I think that's right. Check, bishop back, cover the square, check, and mate. All right, it only took us 3 bishops to defeat Martin, which honestly I feel pretty good about, considering it took us 2 rooks and a full queen. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and stay tuned for the saga. We'll conclude it with knights.